My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua. Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine, and I am your host. Thank you for joining us today. On Exit Team, we take people who have real-life experiences with addiction, trauma, any kind of suffering, and resources that are available to you, and we bring them on the show for you so you can have recovery right in your living room. Today, I'm joined by our beautiful co-host, Jessie.
Hello.
And we have... Hold on. Do I know you from a bike club? A bike?
She's such a...
What do I know you from?
We actually speak at schools together.
No way! So I know him. What's your name?
I'm Josh Colwell.
Okay, Josh.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So real quickly, I know why you're here, and just kidding. I really know this gentleman. He does have a awesome little pedal bike that he wheels all around on.
Yeah.
So, what qualifies you to be on the show?
I'm a person in long-term recovery. I struggled with substance use disorder for a really long time, and I found recovery. So there's multiple pathways, right? And so my pathway of recovery is abstinence. But yeah, so I also am an AmeriCorps member through the Recovery Corps, which is something that they developed in response to the opioid epidemic.
So can you, for our viewers at home who might not have as much experience as some of us, what is AmeriCorps?
AmeriCorps is it's a national program of service. So what it is basically they go into schools, they go into the communities, and they just help where help is needed. And so what I do.
It's like a paid volunteer program.
Right. No, it's not paid. It's a living stipend.
Living stipend.
Yeah. So it's you're volunteering. You commit to a 6 months, a year, 2 years, and I've committed to a year of it, and it's actually wrapping up this month.
And can I announce that you're now going to be on our team?
Too late!
So Josh is the newest member of SOS Recovery Center. He's going to be working with the LEAD program, which is the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program.
It's a great program for you to be in.
Yeah. So the title is Criminal Justice Peer Recovery Specialist.
And what does that consist of?
So working in the jail at the TC program, which is the therapeutic
Stratford
community.
County?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And working with community corrections, and also working with people that are in LEAD, which is Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. So basically, we're peer-to-peer for people that are in the criminal justice system.
I think that's so great.
Yeah.
So, and the LEAD program is happening in Stratford County. I think it's the only county that has it so far.
In New Hampshire. It's a nationwide program.
And so what happens is if you get arrested for any crime related to substance use, it could be like a theft or something like that, the officers have the option to call and dispatch one of the recovery coaches from SOS, and that would partly be your role as well. And so they don't get new charges. They don't go to jail. So they set an appointment with the recovery coach to meet, and they get to go home instead of booking them into jail, giving them new charges, and just adding to their situation. And it costs taxpayer money, and then you're having a record, and it's not helping anybody. And so this way we give them the option to meet with a recovery coach and talk about different pathways to treatment. And it's a great program. So Josh is going to be perfect for it.
So you're meeting with them with love and connection.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is something that most people in that situation aren't used to.
Exactly.
Having.
I know, I wasn't used to it.
Yeah. I was just, when you were describing what the program was, I was literally thinking of, I think my last time being arrested was 2015. But anyways, I got arrested for shoplifting from Walmart. I actually got picked up sprinting from the police.
Been there, unfortunately.
And I was, in the throes of my addiction. It was really, really bad. And I was just trying to think of if I had been met with a recovery, would it have made a difference? Because I wasn't ready at the time.
No,
so I wasn't sure if it would have made a difference in myself. But I was just trying to think, putting myself there instead of going to jail and getting more jail. And I was already so institutionalized by this point, being in and out of jail for so long.
No, for sure. And so, like, what I really love about the program is that it does offer a lot of resources, for people that are in the criminal justice, system. And for so long, the criminal justice system has been broken. A lot of people that are in jail or prisons right now are struggling with substance use disorder. So it's like, and a lot of their crimes are, equated because of that. You know what I mean? It's,
a direct result of that, yeah.
What I think is really cool about it is whether someone is ready to get sober or not, who am I to say? And who am I to tell someone how they should be living their life? But no matter what, they're met with love. They're met with compassion.
Meeting them where they're at, period. That's super important. Because I know me personally, when I was actively using, if you would have tried to push something onto me, I wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean?
Isn't it so weird, how foreign that is? Like a couple years back, just even the stigma that existed when we were trying to find our way. I do wonder, like you said, Jasmine, would it have made a difference? Yeah. And I think I think that it would have.
Whether it made a difference in my life or not, my experience with trying to force recovery on people caused me a great amount of pain.
Yeah.
So say I was the recovery person that went to go meet someone and I tried to force abstinence-based sobriety on them and they weren't ready, I'd hit a lot of pain. But if I met them with love and compassion and they didn't stay sober and they didn't do what I had hoped for them, at least I walked away with love and feeling good. Mm-hmm. And then I would change that in the environment around me. So no matter what, we're making an impact somewhere, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I meeting people where they're at is like, when I ended up getting into recovery, I was, really, I was ready for recovery, but I didn't know how to get recovery. And it wasn't until the feds.
I feel like you could be really intimidating.
Yeah. The feds, when they came to my house, I was like, all right, I guess it's time to the gig's up. You know what I mean? And it changed my life. But so I was told. So I was actually explaining this to somebody earlier. I was like, so they told me when I got into court, can't use drugs anymore. And I was like, okay, but there was no resources.
You're like, how does that happen?
Right. So okay, so what do I do? And they basically just told me, good luck. Hit some meetings. Where do I find meetings? You know what I mean? So for the first week, I just was lost and scared and just hung out at my house. I hid out at my house. I didn't want to be around anybody. I had a lot of shame from being arrested. I had a lot of shame knowing that I have this problem that I couldn't stop. And it took, remembering that a friend of mine worked at a recovery center. And she told me, she's like, hey, one day in the past, she's like, why don't you come down to the recovery center? That's where I work. And I'm like, that's really nice of her to invite me. Not thinking, oh,
she knew that it was she knew it was heavily.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like, well, maybe I'll go check out that recovery center. And
this is a great part of the story, though.
So I got there and I wouldn't go in. I drove up to it and I sat in the parking lot and I was like, I don't want anybody to know me going in here. I don't want to see anybody. I didn't want anybody to see me walking in there.
Well, were you worried about being judged by people?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was, when I was on the other side, I was perpetuating that stigma. I was judging people and I was open about it. And as I was high, you know what I mean? But I didn't want people to know that I had a problem. So I'm going to join in and we're going to make fun of the people that are, struggling. And so now I'm at the point where I need help. And I didn't want to have anybody see me walk in, and I didn't want to walk in and see somebody I knew. And I'm like,
even though they'd be there for the same reason, right?
But, so I didn't think of that at the time. My ego was there, and I was like, nobody needs to know I have a problem.
Right.
You know, and I walked in, and I just remember sitting there, and they have this church pew, and I sat down, and I just was in tears, right? And so the first person to approach me was my ex-girlfriend's mother, which I like.
I never heard that part of the story.
So that's
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she saw me, and her eyes got real big, and she was like, "Oh," because I was not a very nice person, you know. And she was like, "What is he doing here?" You know. And then my friend Kyla, who's actually been on the show, she was there, and she gave me a hug, and told me I was safe. And I was just like,
I have goosebumps.
Yeah, I totally like could breathe out, you know. And she introduced me to some people that were there, and so I started getting comfortable with it. But and I remember when I left, I looked both ways before I got out the door and like scurried off to my car because I still didn't want people to know, you know, because I knew that if people knew, so I thought that if people knew I had a problem, that I had this substance use, this disease, I'd come to find out, that nobody would want to talk to me. So first off, not only did I cut out everybody in my life, so it didn't really matter because everybody that I was using with, I knew that I couldn't hang out with anymore. And that was super traumatic also. And I don't think a lot of people think of it that way, but it's true. You lived your life a certain way for so many years with the same amount of people, with the same people. Even if they stole from you, even if they lied to you, they were still the people you associated with. And so I lived this certain way for 7-8 years, and then all of a sudden, cut them off.
You lose all your friends, you know? I mean, maybe they're not the truest friends, but they're your friends, and that's all you know.
That's who you know, exactly. And that's what was rough. That was super scary to me. Not being under the influence was super scary to me, because there was times where I would take a week or 2 weeks off, you know, and say, see, I don't have a problem. You know, I can stop. And really the whole time I'm obsessing about it. And I'm just like, I can't wait till
acting out in other ways.
Exactly. Right, for sure.
Something. Really.
And but the truth is, I would tell people I would want to stop for a month, and I'd get 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, well, I stopped for 2 weeks, so I'm good.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah. And because you know, the drug that I used, you know, was a daily thing. You know, and not only that.
What was your drug of choice, Charles?
Crystal methamphetamine.
Yeah.
So I totally it started off as just a weekend thing, and then it progressed, you know, and I didn't know about all this stuff before I got into recovery. I just thought why is it that my friends can party a little bit and then stop and I can't? You know, and I remember calling people and be like, hey, come over to the house, let's party. And they're like, dude,
it's Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I need to sleep. And I'm like, well, it's free. Why are you saying no?
Right.
You know,
you're like, I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
come hang out with me.
Right.
I need someone to party with.
And it was just a really dark time, just how I was as a person, how I treated people, how I I was very selfish and self-seeking, and and controlling, which I learned from doing, you know, I belonged to a 12-step fellowship, and learning that from doing the step work, I learned all these character defects about me that I refused to believe when I was actively using. And I remember getting it done and reading it and be like, who would hang out? I wouldn't hang out with me. Why would people hang out with me?
And anyone that hangs out with me has issues.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it was.
How long had you? Because I met you doing the Recovery Coaching Academy.
Yep.
Were you were 90 days?
At that time, I think I was 90 days. Yeah, I think I was, yeah.
Yeah.
So at 90 Days Sober, you were like just really engaged with this recovery center, and you got involved into like recovery coaching.
So I'm an extremist because
I just think that's amazing because I think a lot of people at 90 Days Sober would still be so riddled with fear to be that engaged would be really scary.
Yeah.
So I think the fear is what kind of pushed me to do it.
Okay.
Because it was the only place I felt like I could be comfortable with like. So I didn't want to hang out with anybody I used to hang out with, and I needed to hang out with people that, because I'm a social person, so I needed to hang out with people. I needed to feel like I was loved, you know, because I did not feel loved when I first got into recovery. I especially to myself, you know, and like I was my worst critic, and I'd caused so much harm around me. Like now that, like, so I had friends because of the things I was doing and the things I got charged with, and when that went away, my friends weren't there anymore too. You know, so like. And I knew that I couldn't hang out with them because if I hung out with them, I'd just go down that same path, and then I'd be sitting in a jail cell until my sentence, you know, until my trial came upon. You know, they didn't want me, like, when they didn't want me on the streets at first. You know, they were talking to me.
I'm surprised they let you. You know what I mean? That wasn't some kind of divine intervention working in your life right there that you even got to be.
Right, and because of that, I've been able to build up my life, you know, rebuild my life. And that's another scary thing, is like having to rebuild your life at 36 years old, you know?
Right.
Like, oh, now, like everything I've known, like I used to brag about like living a criminal life, you know what I mean? Like, and now I'm supposed to do a 180? Like, how am I going to do that?
Josh wouldn't even let me drive through Massachusetts on the way here because he's on probation. And I'm like, I'll be driving, like, you know, and he's like, I work an honest program today, and I can't do that, you know.
So that's what you meant, because you had to take the other way.
Yes.
I didn't know what you meant. I was like, are they working in Mass today? Okay, I get it now.
So that's why we were late, because Josh wanted to do the right thing, and I was like, all right, we'll do this, you know. And so it took us an extra 10, 15 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is it like, we got to live, like, so integrity is a huge part of recovery, and I think that, like, if you need to do the right thing, even if, you know, they don't know you're doing the right thing, because in your head you can look somebody in the eye and be like, you know, I am doing this, you know. I used to be a wicked liar, and now, like, I'm honest to a point, like to a fault. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like,
It makes me question my own recovery, because I'm like, I'm on probation too, and like, I'm okay driving.
Just kidding, if her probation. Just kidding.
He trusts me, so it probably wouldn't be a problem. But you know,
but like, but what's good about that is when, like,
your guys' luck is you get pulled over together in mass.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
I know. So then we miss the show. We're getting arrested on the side of the highway. Cars getting towed.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you still, I don't know if you guys have been pulled over recently or since you've been in recovery, but you still get that horrible sick feeling.
I did. So here's a story for you. I did get pulled over in recovery, and I was all like cocky about it. I was like, I got nothing in my car. He's got nothing on me. And like the cop came back and he was like, hey, a little trouble in this town. And he mentioned the town, and I was like, no, not that I remember. He's like, oh yeah. Came up on the screen, and I was like, so I still get yelled at, even though, from my past. Like, just leave me alone.
I just like always preface it with like, just so you know, I'm in recovery, and you're gonna find a lot of shit when you turn. Oh, excuse me. You're gonna find a lot of stuff when you check my record. So
I still have active warrants in North Carolina, and I've called them to like see what I can do about clearing it up, because like,
and they're like, you need to come here.
Yeah, and they were like, next time you're in North Carolina, just clear it up. And I was like, well, I don't know I mean, I'll have to eventually, just to like, you know, like, but it's been 3 years and I haven't gone to North Carolina to do myself right yet. So. But every time I get pulled over, I have to sit there and wait for the cops to, and then they'll be like, well, you have a warrant. And I'll be like, yeah, but it's non-extraditable. I've already tried to call and turn myself in for it.
Right.
And then I have to sit there and wait for them to get it to come back. So I'm literally sometimes pulled over on the side of the road for like an hour or so.
Oh, and it comes up that you've got.
They have warrants. Yeah, I literally, so I work.
But they find out that it's non-extraditable so that they can't arrest you.
Yes, right. So I got pulled over one time leaving work when I worked for Granite Recovery Centers.
Yeah.
And I got pulled over and cuffed and put on the hood of my car in front of all the clients.
Oh no!
Because the cop didn't believe me that it was non-extraditable.
Right.
So I'm gonna clean it up, I swear. Anyways, back to Josh.
Yeah. So I think you relate to me in the beginning of recoveries where like I was so afraid of myself, because I had been to jail a lot of times and I did not want to hurt the people that loved me anymore. Mostly, I have a son, so like being away from him is like heartbreaking. But I was so afraid of myself that I was going to make one of those bad impulse decisions or get around the wrong people. I wouldn't even take a job unless it was in recovery. So like I had to totally immerse myself in it.
Right. So
Yeah.
The only difference is like I didn't realize the harm that I had caused. So I wasn't getting into recovery because I'm like, oh, I need to rebuild these relationships with my family.
Right.
My ego was still out of control. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do this for myself.
Right.
Because I, one, need to be healthier because I was destroying my body from the inside out like bad.
Yeah.
And second, I was like, well, I've been caught. Like, it's time to like be honest about this. And that was even scarier. Like, calling up my mom, being like, hey, Mom, so the DEA was just here.
Don't watch the television. Don't turn it on and don't answer any phone calls.
And so like,
Don't watch the news tonight, Mom.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I didn't realize until I started doing my step work, or was in the middle of my step work, that of the harm that I actually caused.
Yeah.
So I was still like ego driven, like I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be great, but how? And it was fear driven. It was like, and I didn't want to run into anybody. Like I was afraid to. When I first got into recovery, I was still bartending. And I was like, all right, so how am I supposed to do this? You know what I mean? Like, I'm supposed to like not drink, and I'm not supposed to drug. And here I am making drinks for people, and something gets splashed on my hand so bad that I want to just like lick it.
I don't even know how people can bartend like in early recovery. I know so many people that have bartended in early recovery, and I'm like, I don't even waste it.
One of the guys we work with does,
Yeah.
And he's been doing it for so long that I think it's the money.
And so it's like ingredients. That's what that's how I did it.
It's just ingredients.
Yeah, I just looked at it as ingredients. I didn't look at it as alcohol, but I did leave that job soon after because it was getting to the point where I was like watching people drink, and I was like, that would be delicious right now.
And for me, it wasn't even like that's my drug of choice and like I want to drink alcohol. It's watching the people escape.
Yeah.
It's seeing them have an escape and seeing them numb their pain and numb their reality, and then it creeps into your mind that I want.
No, exactly. So people like us that suffer from substance use disorder, we just want. To get out of ourselves, right? I'll speak for myself. Like that's something that I really, I made this like big, fake persona. You know what I mean? Like I'm this big bad biker, and this is what I'm going to do. And you don't want to mess with me, And it was all a front. You know what I mean? And it was all a front. What I was scared. I very felt like less than, but I was getting this attention. Even if it was negative attention, I was getting this attention. So I was loving it. My ego was feeding into it. I was like, because I went from really feeling here and then starting to feel here when I should have just felt here. And I couldn't, and I would drink, I would drug, I would, hang out with people I shouldn't be hanging out with, sleeping with women I shouldn't be sleeping with. Whatever I could do to get out of myself, I would do. And to do that, the destruction you cause all around you is like, to me, I didn't care about that. As long as Josh is getting what Josh needs, Josh is going to do whatever it takes. If it meant hurting friends, if it meant hurting family, it didn't matter. And that's like, when you come to reality and you're not using, when you're not...
when your brain isn't hijacked.
Right. And you can start thinking like normally.
Well, that's like which brings, we don't have enough time to get into this, but that also brings up another point, like trauma survivors, their brain stays hijacked.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so for someone like myself who experienced a lot of like adverse childhood trauma,
Yes.
I never really even had a choice of whether I picked up or not. My brain had already been hijacked with the neurotransmitters and like the
Right.
way the pathways operated.
sure.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah,
it
and
brings
it-
up another really
and-
good point.
Yeah, and so with the ACEs, I did the ACEs. I scored an 8, and that's
Yeah.
a 1 through 10. And if you score 1, you're more likely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there was a lot of childhood trauma, but so with that, I want to say that my mom was a loving mom, and she did
Yeah.
the best she could.
Sure.
We were just in a really crappy situation.
Yeah.
And
I mean, our childhood trauma could be getting bullied in
Shout out to
school,
our mamas.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
My mom loved me
Yeah.
I don't even know how my mom
through
still
it.
feels
Yeah.
with me.
and my dad in the end was really supportive. He never got to see me in recovery other than from up top, but I've had conversations with my dad where he was really worried about me, but he never, so my dad showed me recovery before I knew what recovery was. He never pushed it on me. He was just like, hey, I'm really worried about you. Maybe you should start looking at life a little bit and reevaluating it. And I was just like, yeah, get right on that. Dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he put in that hey, and I could always talk to him. And that's what I try to do with people now when they come into the center or whenever I'm at a meeting or anything. I want to be that person that my dad was, who sat there and didn't judge you and just listened to you with an open heart and was like, do you want advice or don't you want advice? Because I'm not gonna give you advice if you don't want advice,
Yeah.
I don't want to press anything on anybody because, again, from what we were saying at the beginning here, if you would have pushed it onto me, I would have pushed you back.
Unsolicited advice, we just
Well,
shut down, yeah.
So,
I love it when my friends try and give me their opinion and I'm so defensive. I'm like, thank you, but I didn't ask for your opinion.
Right. And then I saw a quote the other day and it said, when someone tells me something, it's, are you just venting or are you looking for my opinion? And you kind of ask them that,
So good.
We're down to 20 seconds.
Yeah,
So
okay.
do you want to say anything to the viewers?
yeah, just if you're looking, if you feel like you're alone, you're not alone. And if you're just remember, we all are broken one way or another. So just, we're here for help,
Awesome. So thanks everyone for listening and watching tonight, and we'll see you next week. If you're struggling, reach out. You are worth it, and recovery is possible.
My name is Jasmine, and I am a recovering drug addict.
My name is Richie Farrell, AKA the Old White Junkie.
And we are your hosts for Exit Team Nashua.
Our mission is to bring recovery into the living room.
Last year, over 72,000 Americans died of an accidental overdose.
That's almost 200 Americans every single day.
We will bring you guests with real-life experiences with addiction and recovery. Welcome to Exit Team Nashua.
Singer, anything?
Hi, welcome to Exit Team Nashua. My name is Jasmine, and I am your host. Thank you for joining us today. We have a really exciting show planned for you guys, and I'm also a little scared. I'm a little scared for what may or may not come, and there may be tears involved. Maybe. If I do my job right, there will be.
Tears of joy from laughing.
Possibly. Possibly. Tristan may get assaulted at some point. This was planned while you were gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
Great.
So
You guys are great. Thanks.
you're welcome.
Yeah, good luck.
So I'm going to be the one crying.
I just think you're not going to know what to do. You'll be caught off guard. Yeah.
You guys are.
It wasn't me.
Whose side are you on?
It was Dick. Dick did it. No one knows Dick, but he's the camera guy. Dick set it up. So, okay. But so thank you for joining us today, and we do actually have a very exciting show for you. Jess warned me before the show that Tristan's absolutely out of his mind. So
Josh is too, but you know, Tristan's.
Unique.
Yes.
unique. Okay. So I don't know you. I know nothing about you.
So who are you and what are you doing here?
Are you on the right show?
I believe so.
Are you
These people-
sure?
I did use substances for a little while, I believe, right?
Okay.
That's what you got to qualify to be on here.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
you don't
Not
have
like-
to have used substances, but
any
you have
kind
to have been affected in some way.
Oh, I've been affected, and I have affected.
Are you infected?
We'll see when the blood panel comes back.
Okay. All right.
So tell us about yourself and your status.
So my name is Tristan. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I work as a recovery support coordinator at SOS.
SOS coming in strong.
Yeah,
All
representing
right.
hard.
right.
Been in New Hampshire for about 2 years now. Prior to
sorry.
that, yeah, I missed the weather because prior to that, I lived in South Florida for almost 3 years, where I had done a bit of the South Florida rehab shuffle.
I was going to say.
So I did a little bit of vacationing down there,
I
if
went
you
to
will.
South Florida once, and I did not get well, but I had the time of my life.
I kind of had the time of my life. My insurance wouldn't say that. But, yeah, so I spent some time down there. Was in treatment, worked in treatment, did the whole shebang, and met somebody down there. Married this person, got her pregnant, and that's what brought us back up here because she's from New Hampshire, and yeah, mother of my child. She actually just celebrated 2 years in this past October. Yeah, very proud of her. Unfortunately,
Tristan
now
just got 2 years too.
I did. Yes,
Awesome.
January 31st.
I'm also, I don't even know you, but I am just so happy with the way you talk about the mother of your child and how proud of her you are and how much you support her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That shows that you have done a lot of work on yourself.
Unfortunately, now she is my ex-wife, but we co-parent. She's one of my good friends. I see them every week. You know, I talk to her almost every day, and yeah, so it's a great relationship that we have. It seems that we're better friends than we were spouses.
I am proud of both of you.
Yeah,
That's
thank
amazing.
you. Yeah, we make it work.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
I think it's beautiful. It's inspiring.
Must be nice.
It
Be
is
able to
you know,
co-parent nicely.
Well, and good for you to show other people that it can be done.
Yeah, most people usually when I talk about my ex-wife, they're kind of surprised, like how you're such good friends with her. Why? And
You should have a talk with my son's father.
I can hold a seminar now. Yeah, maybe I could charge for that, run some insurance, you know, who knows. Make some money
So
off
what
it.
was the date of your 2 years?
January 31st.
Nice.
That was the last day, 2 years ago. Had a small slip up and lost a lot.
You got me beat by 17 days. Mine's coming up in 5 days. 2 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, but I mean, life has just been a lot different than I had thought. You know, I originally from New York, from Long Island. You know, nice family, and didn't see too much active, addiction or alcoholism in the community. So I was pretty much blind to the whole thing. And when I began my journey, it really took my family, my friends, everybody around me by surprise. So.
Did it take you by surprise? Like, had you, for me, since like I was young and, picked up pot, that became my obsession. Did you know that substances were a problem for you since a young age?
I started at about 12. I started drinking, smoking pot. And that was to mask a lot of feelings I had about myself. I had a lot of negative feelings towards myself, a lot of self-hatred actually, due to some early childhood trauma. And as I got older, it just got more and more serious. The drugs got, kind of stepped up. And by the time I was in college, I found opiates, and that was what I fell in love with. And they gave me that feeling that nothing else really gave me. And I picked it up and I ran with it. Apparently they are the best. Yeah.
So a little side note, okay, Tristan got interviewed by some like Norwegian newspaper at SOS.
Yeah.
And they put the headline of the subtitle of his section says, "Opiates are the best."
You should have brought that article.
Oh my God, it's hilarious.
They took a lot of things out of context. Yeah. It made it seem like I had no hope for
And
the
it was
state
like,
of New
he
Hampshire.
goes, nothing can be done for the opiate crisis. And what he meant was, there isn't one thing that's going to fix this. A lot of things need to change in order for this to be fixed. But it was like translated from Norwegian or something, and it didn't translate nicely.
Just plain old, nothing will fix this problem. So like, we're screwed.
Must suffer on.
Yeah, once you're in it for life. You're screwed.
It's pretty
That's
funny.
it. Yeah.
So opiates are the best.
Really
yeah.
funny.
Yeah. So
Hashtag opiates are the best.
the opiates really took control, and I was, God, they are the best.
Our director's gonna love that. I was like,
yeah.
you should definitely send this to John. He's gonna like it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's seen it yet. So.
Good.
And in Tristan's defense, it's not like on Seacoast Online or something. It's like in some Norwegian newspaper. I don't know why.
I believe they were at a Bernie Sanders rally prior to coming to SOS and asked me a few questions and asked if they could speak to some of the members, and
He said absolutely not. And then they went outside and proceeded to anyway.
yeah, so that was interesting. But
Yeah, so tell us how you got to recovery.
so I got to a point where I found opiates in college, and my drinking, my drug use really took off from there. Classes became not a thing, getting in trouble with the school multiple times. So
So you didn't complete school?
I did not know. I was
What
kicked
school?
out. It was called Franklin and Marshall College, a liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. I went there I was recruited to play lacrosse there. So surprisingly, that's the only thing I did while I was there other than drinking and drugging.
And did they kick you off the lacrosse team for your academic status?
They did not. Yeah.
Nice, huh?
So that was one thing I looked forward to.
I
but-
always say that I made it. Well, I dropped out of school my senior year of high school, but I did not apply myself academically. But I was a very good athlete, and I always say that I made it through to that point due to like being a good athlete.
Right.
Yeah.
I did not care about school. I was there for pride and pride only. What everyone thought of me.
Right.
That's exactly.
You get that validation through the sports and
Fed the ego.
yeah.
And that was the only reason, that was another, other than the drugs and alcohol, being good at sports, okay, people want you on their team, praise. It was like, all right, I'm not focusing on how much I'm hating myself right now. I'm focusing on how much people
These people love me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually great. I'm awesome.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So once that
I
was
think I do
gone.
love myself.
Wait, no, I don't.
And then they all leave and you're like, damn it.
Yeah. So once athletics was done in college, it was like, all right, well, the only thing I have left are the drugs and alcohol, so that's a full-time job.
Question. Did you know that you hated yourself? Because I didn't know.
Me neither.
I thought
Not-
because I had
no.
the outside things that meant that I knew that I was worth it, you know, and looking back, like you said, self-hatred, that I was full of it and I didn't know it.
No, there was a lot of guilt, not so much the guilt that I was aware of, but the self-hatred, no, I
Yeah.
did not. I liked the way I felt when I was able to make people like me or,
Yeah.
you know,
The validation, yeah.
friends, relationships, you know, I was quick. If anybody said I love you, I was quick to jump on it. Like if I've known you for 2 days and you say I love you, like, all right, let's get married. So, but yeah, so college, I was actually kicked out twice. I was on academic probation for a while, so I decided to move to California and thought that would fix
Geographical
things.
cure.
Geographical cure, yes. And
Did you say California?
Yeah.
You've lived every place I've ever wanted to. New York, California, Florida. Wow.
Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. But yeah, moved there, and that's where my addiction really took off. I had no supervision really, and drugs were easily available. At that point, Craigslist, you just type in. At that point, I was addicted
I
to
never
Oxy.
found drugs on Craigslist.
Seriously.
What?
I must have been so nice.
In the state of California, it basically just said, if you're not a cop, just say so, and I'll sell you drugs. So it was pretty easy.
I know there used to be some website that you could go on and like put your zip code in and like someone would like come meet you or something. I don't know, someone in rehab told me
Sounds
about it
pretty
once.
convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after I tried California, I moved back, tried school again. And at that point, my grades were, I think I had a 1.23 GPA. So they said, please do not return. You
And not, please don't return. You are not welcome to ever return.
Basically, you gave it the college try, and that wasn't anywhere near good enough.
So you were in your early 20s and you had
Yeah.
an opiate habit.
I did, and so once I was out of school, I kind of made the decision, oh, you know, school's not for me. I'm going to join the workforce. So I started picking up jobs, losing jobs.
Did you ever like hit withdrawals? Because I never, for me in my early use with Percocets, I was able to gain access to them and I never experienced withdrawals.
The first time I did was actually when I was in Los Angeles. I would get sick every few days and I was like, what, am I dying or something?
Right.
What's wrong with me? So
And you didn't even know, right?
I Googled it and it said you're going through withdrawal from dependency. And so at that point I determined I needed to
Get more.
maintain this so that I don't get sick. And for me, that looked like stealing, robbing, cheating, and a lot of it was from the people closest to me, my family. So a lot of, writing checks from family members to myself, credit cards, stealing debit cards, cash anywhere. And it got to a point where I was actually stealing jewelry from my mother and basically emptied out her jewelry box. And I would get caught every, couple months, and I would have to make up a lie as to what I was doing with all this money. And,
So they didn't know why you were stealing this money from them?
No, for a while I was like, I'm taking girls out on dates. I have a gambling addiction. It was like everything. And for a while they were able
really
to.
naive.
Yeah, because they'd never
They didn't
seen
know.
it before.
Right, yeah.
And then finally,
Was there arrests?
there was one instance, there was no arrest because I convinced myself that it was okay to steal from my family because they would forgive me ultimately.
Right, right.
There was no way, and it got to the point where I had stolen so much from close family members and significant others of family members that I faced an intervention in, I believe it was 2015, and it was, at that point, you're either going to go to treatment or you're looking at prison.
So they knew at this point.
At this point, they had known.
Did they bring in an interventionist?
They did not. They did this
it on their
themselves
own.
because I made the mistake of, I had stolen from my uncle's girlfriend, and I didn't realize at one point that she used to be a district attorney in New York. So she was able to pull up records and figure out everything I've stolen and calculate.
Oh, wow.
So
she was like, I'm going to press charges against you
and she
for
said,
all of it.
Yeah, and she said,
You know
"This
what? Good
is-
for her.
Yeah. Have you ever read the
Yeah.
book Tweak? It's written, Beautiful Boy was written by David Sheff, and then his son, Nick Sheff, wrote Tweak. And the same thing happens in there. He stole from family. They said, we're going to press charges if you don't go to treatment. And, he was able to.
Yeah. And a lot of the family members said, we think, prison or jail. They thought jail, but when I looked up the charges and the amount, it was
doing like 15 years.
It was, D felony for grand larceny in New York, and that said up to 7 years in prison. Or 17, I believe. 17. So, yeah, I was
it's 10 years difference.
I'm way too pretty for prison.
Yeah, I'm way too pretty.
I'm way too pretty for that, yeah.
So you never went to jail?
No, I accepted treatment. They said you can go to treatment. They looked into some areas, and they said Florida is where a lot of treatment facilities are, and I said...
So that was your first detox experience?
Oh, yeah. Yep, that was my first experience.
And did you get meds? To detox you?
I did, but I remember that was the first time. Yes, I remember, but that was the first time on the plane. I was riding on the plane. I was like, all right, I'm going down to Florida. And then halfway through the flight, I was like, where's my life at? I'm going to treatment, right? I'm going to rehab. I didn't even know what it was up until like a day ago. And that was the first time. I remember there was a lot of turbulence on that flight, and people were freaking out, like, this is the end, we're going down. And I was sitting there calm, like, okay, if we go down and we die, like, all right.
They don't have to detox.
That too, but I was like, I'm done with my life. Like, okay,
yeah.
I'm ready. If we go down, I have no qualms with that. I will not be angry at anybody. And so I did that first treatment, it was a very lavish, run your insurance, South Florida treatment type, stay in a mansion and do...
Got the pool.
Oh, yeah.
Got the babes.
The whole nine.
So the cushy setup.
Oh, yeah. Cushy setup.
Get the cure.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't want it.
Did you go to Passages Malibu?
No, I did not. No. The place is now closed down, as of most of
what
the
was
places.
It called?
I believe it was called All In Recovery.
That's what she said.
Yeah, no, but I just wanted to get people off my back, so I was like, all right, I'll do this recovery. I'll hang out in Florida. And then I told them, I'm going to stay in Florida and work on my recovery here. And I basically just
shuffled around,
hung out in Florida. Well, this was the point where I'd stayed dry, I guess, if you will, and was basically doing this out of spite for everybody else, because everyone's like, oh, you got to get into step work or volunteer or get a sponsor. And I was like, I'm good. I'll just hang out and
tried that.
Be unspiritual and kind of just waited for everybody else to who was doing the work to relapse, so that I could be like, oh, well, how was that? How was doing the step work? How'd that work out for you? Like, no, do my program. Yeah.
Tristan has the cure.
Yeah, I am the cure.
It involves a moped,
I had a moped.
You did?
I had a red moped. We called it the Cheetah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Many hours on the beach.
Yeah, but at that point, I was able to put together over a year of clean time, but I was extremely unspiritual, going to the casino. I worked at some shady, phone room, selling, God knows what this week. It was Google ads one week and security software another week over the phone. And I was just like a terrible person. I was hanging out with people who were patient brokering, so basically marketing other people into treatment for profit and, getting their friends to come down and, telling them, if you stay in treatment X amount of days, I can give you this amount of money. So, I knew a lot of people who got caught in that shuffle. Like, all right, well, I'll go to detox. I'll go to treatment for 2 weeks, come out, make $800 and do it again. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not with us.
I was going to say, well, it's been a couple months now. A young man that I was very close with was struggling, and he was just like, listen, I know this broker in California, and he's going to pay me to go out there, and I'm going to use that money to pick product up and flip it, and I'm going to start a new life out there. No intention of going out there to really get sober, but knew the right people. Well, he did just that and died.
Yeah.
He died out there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'd say since I've moved up to New Hampshire, I'd say it's upwards of 50 people that friends, roommates, coworkers that I'd lived with down there, been in IOP, about 50 people have died since then, and it's just...
We lost 3 people from my high school in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, and so...
It's crazy that it's like a day-to-day life for us.
It's crazy that like it's just like, oh, another person died. Like how messed up is that? It's just insane that like it's just another person.
It shows how hurting society is.
It makes me sick to my stomach. I can't really even go into the whole death aspect of it because I just get like devastated by it, you know.
You know what's even more crazy to me? Why am I here?
Right. Why didn't we our number get pulled or whatever?
What made me so lucky?
Yeah.
Why didn't this shot take me out? Why? Yeah.
Like when I took my own life intentionally, why was I revived? You know, like
Same.
why?
I've been in this,
Right.
done the same thing, and
Yeah.
I came out of it, and it's, you know, yeah, it's pretty baffling. You get that survivor's guilt, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I think you get, after doing what we've been doing,
Yeah.
we're working
Passing
in
it on.
treatment,
Yeah.
Purpose.
being able to, have our story, somebody, at least one person relate and be like,
Yeah.
I get it. If they can do it, I can do it.
It's so
Right.
crazy. So the show that we shot right before this one, the gentleman was talking about an experience that he had with doing step work, and like my thought process is how beautiful it is to be humbled. You know, to be like put right size and in your one little place, because like you're nothing. You're just like a piece of a larger working program, and like whatever it is, like the universe needs me to be me for whatever reason it is, and like I need to stay true to whatever role it is I play for the universe. And if I get out of line, I get humbled. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember doing my step work. I've actually done. I mean,
Have you finished? You're still working on it, right?
In the first fellowship, I did the steps.
Oh, you're on the second fellowship.
I dabble in
Yeah.
a second
fellowships.
fellowship, and I'm in the middle of those steps.
But you did the first set of steps.
I did.
Found relief.
Oh, okay.
I did, but then I kind of took my foot off the pedal, and
That's okay.
you get humbled.
It's
Yeah.
an experience to have.
Yeah.
Some people write online sometimes like, oh, I feel so bad about myself. I relapsed, and I'm like, you're winning. Like, you're above ground and you didn't die, and you have that experience now, and you're not starting from square one, you know?
Yeah, it's a different experience, especially doing the steps this time I have somebody who holds me way more accountable in a way that makes me uncomfortable, but I guess
Yeah.
that's good. He calls me out on like I would say a daily basis. So I need that check.
All right, so humbled really rings a bell with you.
He does, yeah. He really, they call him the Godfather. And
Wow.
Yeah, he's.
Wow.
Or maybe I do. I
I
do. I
know
just
him?
bust his chops. My sponsors are Anthony. I don't think so.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Okay.
It could also be because he's Italian, and I just made that association. And
Okay.
I just like to mess with people.
So you talk to your sponsor daily?
I would say at least every other day.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
work at SOS.
I do. That I started in December, and it's
He is like the best thing that's happened to the center,
Wow.
He comes in and like
He's not humbled
just like-
anymore. Okay.
no, I just mean like
Love that ego. I like
he
it.
really
Keep
like
talking.
he is able to relate to the members and yet still keep things in order and make sure people are using the center to work on their recovery and I think he like blocked Facebook on the computers and things like that, which I was like, we should have done that stuff a long time ago, but Tristan kind of came in and did some of those things, and but he's been great. So he works in the Dover Center.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
have to come harass you.
And he goes,
Yeah,
him
of course.
and Josh, who was on the previous show, go to Teetotaler in Somersworth. They're one of our recovery-friendly workplaces, and they do an all-recovery meeting, and it's LGBTQ+, right?
yes, it is.
And yeah, so that's one of the cool things that the Recovery Friendly Workplace and SOS has been able to do, is to bring things like that into the community.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good work.
Every Tuesday. Tuesdays at
Tuesday.
1:00. Yeah, so show up.
yeah,
The bubble tea is phenomenal.
yeah.
Never been.
It's awesome. It's cool.
I don't like tea.
Well, I mean, they have other things.
Thank God.
They have other things, yeah.
I have a caffeine consumption problem.
I drink like a extra large coffee every day, so I feel you on that.
Yeah, I drink at least 2 Red Bulls a day. So I'm.
So that's like
I
health
have
food.
a video for you to watch.
I posted it on my Facebook. The thing with it
Yes.
makes the balloon, it cuts the balloon.
Have you watched it?
I
I
watched
saw
the whole
that.
thing.
I could watch it a million times. I will still drink Red Bull
Okay, you
until
know
I
what?
die.
It's like poison.
I'm one of those people. Like you show me a video of how a hot dog's made, I'll still eat a hot dog.
I literally get it. We're drug addicts, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
knew
it's just like we
heroin-
shot stuff into
I
our
knew heroin
veins
was
that like
bad,
puddle
okay?
water and
Yeah, there's a lot of
When
those
people
people.
Break
call me out
fluid
on my
into
bad
our
behaviors,
veins.
I'm like, I'm not shooting dope and selling my butt anymore. Okay?
Yeah,
We're doing good.
Exactly. I was just telling them on the way in here that I've been wearing the 21 milligram nicotine patch, chewing nicotine gum, and vaping. So it's a little problematic.
Just start seizing out. You know why. So,
But it's an improvement from where I could be.
Yes, it is.
so your life's good today.
My life is good today. Yes, I have amazing coworkers.
Obviously.
I have family that supports me now and, calls me, wishes me, because this January was a big month for me. It's my anniversary, my birthday, my daughter's birthday, and, just all this love coming from people who about 5 years ago were like, I think prison's the place for you. Completely turned around to that love, support, what can we do? We're so proud of you. It's not where I, 9th or 10th grade going into my guidance counselor's office and saying, you know what, I want to, when I leave high school, I want to go to rehab and, maybe
that's
go
what
to
I wanted.
prison and,
Just kidding.
maybe. No.
Yes, not where you ever envisioned your life going.
No, not at all. But I'm glad that I had these different twists and turns and these life experiences because,
Now you got street cred.
mad props. One of my good
Shout
friends,
out to Cheetah,
the
moped.
Cheetah. Yeah, one of my best friends is a ex-biker. You never would think that, but don't bring it up. Apparently,
You're gonna love that.
Weird people who would not normally mix.
yeah, no. He and somebody had brought that up the other day.
We're about to sign off.
We're about to sign off. We got
Yes.
7 seconds. So what are you gonna say?
I'm going to say thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next week. And thanks for coming on the show, Tristan. And you are worth it. Recovery is possible.